information that employers give us and then try to give it to you, sorry, so that you have the best resume possible. There's lots of steps in place when you're trying to do a resume. If you do one and you want to send it to me, I'm more than happy to look over it, help you make changes, make sure that it's ready to go, so when you're looking for a job that you have a perfect resume. The reason people write resumes really is to advertise you. It's to talk about your best qualities and how they match the job that you're looking for. It's a way for employers to compare you to other candidates. And I will say, if somebody has a not so great resume, an employer is going to be reluctant to bring them in. Most people don't know exactly how to write a resume, but there's lots of templates out there that you can look at and say, hey, you know what, this is what they're looking for. Let's get it together. And, employers are looking to eliminate candidates as much as they can. So you want to make sure it's ready to go. All right. So it should be written to the job that you're looking for. You may have had a different type of position in the past. You really want this resume to look like the job that you're trying to get. So your education, your work experience, and your skills, anything that you can match to what the employer is looking for will definitely up your chances of getting an interview. I'm going to be brief and concise. I had someone today that asked me, how many pages should a resume be? 1 to 2, depending on your experience. But anything over that, I got a 27 pager, and I just put it aside and read a couple pages of it and was like, wow. Just 1 to 2 pages is plenty. Okay. You do not put your references on a resume. I actually got one today that I'm going to make some changes to, and they have their references. That's a separate sheet, and we'll talk about that in a little bit, but that's a separate page. On a resume, you don't want any abbreviations except for states. No personal information. You do not put your salary requirement on the resume. That goes in the cover letter. It should be written in reverse chronological order, which means your most recent education or work experience should come first. So even if you have other education, you want to make sure that because you're going to Delaware County right now, that's the first thing on your resume. It shows that you're upgrading your skills and that you have recent relevant education. Same thing with work experience. Put your most recent job on there. Lead with your strengths. I like to look at resumes that quickly tell me what you're looking for and why you match. I don't need a lot of information. I don't need it to be, 2 pages and fluffed up. I just want to see how you match the job that I have. And it's easier to do that than you think. Even if you don't have experience in the field, you have a lot of transferable skills, plus you're upgrading your skills. So we can definitely talk about that more. And do not hesitate to send me your resume. Don't hesitate to email me questions. If you're uncertain how to get started, I can always help you with that. Perfect spelling and grammar. So you don't want to get eliminated because you have spelling errors or grammar errors in your resume. Have people look at it. You read it over, have me read it over, have a friend read it over, as many people as you can to have look at it and critique it, the better. Make sure it's visually attractive, simple, but visually attractive. 10 to 12 point type size. And if you print out your resume, right now, most resumes are sent either through email or online. The employer will have you apply on their website. And the reason that they do that, sometimes people say, oh, you know what, my resume just goes off into, somewhere that nobody ever sees it. A lot of human resources departments require that you do that there's tracking, so that they can track the candidates that come in, how well they match the job, how many resumes they get. They need that for legal reasons. So a lot of employers require that you send it through their website. One thing we do at our office is we try to, we work with the employers that come to us. So we try to, as much as possible, okay, you have to apply in the site, but can the student send you their resume as well? Can I send it to you? Can you make sure that somebody's looking at it? So we do a lot of that, and we're happy to help you with that. So the heading for your resume should be your name, address, phone number, and an email address. I don't think I have to tell you, make sure that the email address is appropriate. But usually I just say your first and last name at Gmail or wherever you have an email account. Keep it simple. And if anyone has any questions as we go along, please feel free to just chime in. You can have an objective or a career summary on your resume. So an objective, it's just going to state what you want to do, what you're looking for, as far as a job. I prefer, and here's a couple objectives, but I like a summary or profile. Profile is going to give you an opportunity to tell what job you're looking for, and then a little bit, just briefly, how your qualifications relate to the position that you're trying to get. It should be short and well written, relates to your experience. Maybe you have some, interpersonal skills on there, computer skills, hard skills that match the job. You definitely want to have that in your profile. And it's a summary, because you're going to repeat some of the information in your education and work experience, but that tells the employer, hey, this is what you're looking for. I can tell you one thing that I see sometimes is job seekers apply, or they send their resume, and there's nothing that really tells me what they're looking for, like the specific position. It's good to point that out right, motivated student looking for a position in network engineering. Whatever your career field is, just spelling it out right away. Okay. Just some skills, organizational skills. I keep doing that, sorry. Organizational skills, maybe some computer skills that you have, leadership skills, organization, communication. We have lots of skills that we get from our jobs and from other education and maybe volunteer experience. There's so many transferable skills. You might not have done the exact job you're looking for, but what types of skills you have that match the job that you're seeking. All right, any questions? No. Okay. Education. So it's going to be reverse chronological order. Your last job first. You're going to have the name of the company. So I work at Delaware County Community College, education. You're going to have Delaware County Community College, your program. When you complete, you're also going to put when you get your certification on there. If you have a GPA, that could be on there, 3.0 or higher, related coursework, certificates, concentrations, when you finish the program. So we're in May, right? So May 2021, you finish the program. When you get your certification, you can list that and then the date of the certification, okay? Again, in reverse chronological, so your most recent experience first. Even if you have another degree, you have several degrees, you want your most recent to be the first thing they see. Because that shows that you're upgrading your skills. You can list scholarships, academic honors. You do not need high school once you have higher education. So you can just take high school off. So you would say Delaware County Community College, take the high school off, replace that with Delaware County. Does that make sense? No. All right, employment, same thing. Reverse chronological order. I usually tell people to go back about 10 years unless there's, maybe they worked at a company for 2 years, or for 20 years. I got a resume today, she worked at the same place for 20 years. Obviously, we're gonna put that position on with the dates and everything that she did there. There were some promotions, there were some, movement as far as her job, but she's been at the same employer for 20 years. Sometimes students will say, but, 30 years ago, I was in the field that I'm looking for now. Okay, but are your skills still recent and relevant? Because that's huge when you're looking for something. And you want to keep your resume as simple as possible. So when you're listing your employment, it doesn't have to be every job that you ever had. It can be, most recent jobs, recent and relevant jobs. Do not leave out jobs where you, that aren't related to your major, especially if that's the last job you had. Also, if you were let go from a job and you worked there for 10 years, you're going to put that job on your resume. You may not use them as a reference, but you definitely want to make sure that job's on there, okay?
I have a question.
Any questions on that?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
I have a question about, where would I list my scholarships or my academic honors? Would it be, so say for instance, I put it exactly under Delaware County or exactly under, okay.
You have some options. One, you can put it right under your education, right under after your program. You could also do a separate heading that we'll talk about a little bit. It could be honors and awards, and then list it there. What I would do is Delaware County Community College, maybe it's President's List. List that, and then the fall 2021, or so you can list it simply, but make sure you list the school that you got it, what it was, and when it was. Okay?
Yes, thank you.
But you can pick where maybe you want to highlight it a little bit along with your education, or you can list it separately.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions? No. And as far as getting fired or losing a job, it happens to people every day. So, you were at an employer for 10 years, you want to show that work history. Sometimes people think because they're let go that they can't, but you definitely want to show that. Experience, there's a lot. It just depends on your resume. Just like your question, as far as what you include, how you list it, jobs, field work, internships, maybe you had a work study position or a clinical position, student teaching, volunteering, research projects. It all depends on your major, what different experiences you have. We have students that come to the college who have never worked. They may do a work study position, and then they have something to build their resume around. And then they also get the degree, so then they have that to add to their resume. Resume is really a document that you're constantly adding to. Even now, I've been at the college for over 20 years. I'm not looking for a job, but I'm constantly updating as I get a new skill, a new maybe professional development, a new whatever it might be. You should always keep that updated, and every single person should have a resume that's well written, and I can definitely help you with that. You want to use action verbs. We'll talk about that a little bit when I show you some samples. So like organized, designed, maintained, observed, monitored, present, position should be present tense, past position should be past tense. I like months and years of employment. You don't need the exact date of employment. And you wanna do short, brief statements. You do not use I in a resume, so you're not gonna say I organized and scheduled tutoring sessions. You're just gonna say organized and scheduled, okay? The name of the company, Delaware County Community College, what your position was, where it's located, and the years of employment. And the one thing with the job description that you add after that is some of those skills are transferable skills that all jobs require. Customer service skills, how many jobs don't require that? So if you have excellent customer service skills and you're looking for an IT help desk position, maybe the customer service skills are gonna get your foot in the door before your computer certification or your computer degree, just because you have that that customer service skill that is needed when you're doing help desk work. Okay. Some other skills, computer skills. I say list them even if they're not really that related to the job that you're looking for. It just shows that you're skilled, that you have some updated computer skills that might be relevant, might come, be useful at some point. Foreign languages, we have lots of companies that come to us and say, hey, do you have someone that speaks Spanish and English or, another language? That is something you definitely want to highlight. And you can put it in your profile. You can put it as a separate section, languages, list. But that's important as well, especially if you know another or several others. Other skills you can also, other skills I try to have people put in their profile. Sometimes, students put in skills and I take them out because maybe they're not as relevant. Listing, more than we can work with it and try and take some things out and make sure it's 1 to 2 pages is good. Some optional headings, just like the question. Does anyone have any questions? Any more questions yet?
I do have one other question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Say if you did go to a training program for like medical assistant, but you didn't get your certification, should we still list that?
Yes.
Okay.
So something like that, you're gonna list, again, the school, the location, and I would put just medical assistant training.
Okay.
Or say you went to Widener and you started a program in nursing. You took courses towards nursing but did not graduate. Then you would just put courses in whatever the program was.
Okay.
So it shows that you have that medical assistant background.
Yeah.
That you have that education. So yeah, I think that's important.
Okay.
Now, if you took one course in something totally unrelated out of school, I might tell you just to leave that off.
Yeah, okay.
But I think that's something that would be valuable when listing and when an employer looks at your resume.
Okay, thank you.
Okay? Yep. And that's one thing you want to be looking at all the time. Is this valuable to the employer? Are they going to want to know this about me? And is it valuable as far as matching the job that I'm looking for? Sometimes people put a lot on their resume that isn't really related and it doesn't necessarily even need to be there. I think it's better not to have it there because it's less for the employer to read. We get, we hire for 2 positions in our office quite often, and the more that I just see how you meet what I'm looking for, the more likely I'm going to interview you. Because maybe I get 200 resumes for the position. How do you meet what I'm looking for? And I'm going to say that over and over. I can't stress that enough. Between the resume, the cover letter, and the interview is you're selling yourself as the best candidate for the position. Okay? Some other things, you might have military experience, here's honors and awards, that's where you can put, maybe if you got a scholarship or something like that. Professional affiliations, a lot of people belong to or have memberships to organizations that are related to what they want to do. You might also be involved in some organizations on campus. You can add those, volunteer work, community service. And again, if you have a full resume, and you have the work experience, the education, maybe the volunteer work, it would be hard to squeeze that on, then you could leave that off. But as much relevant information as you can, is best. Any questions there? So, you definitely want to spell check your resume. The other thing is, when an employer asks you to apply for a position, you want to apply the way they tell you. So if they ask you to apply online, apply online. If they ask you to attach your resume as a PDF, a Word document, you want to do that the way they want. Maybe they say to embed it in the email. They figure it's safer when they're getting it than embedded in the email. So whatever they're looking for, make sure you follow directions, because that's one thing, an employer would want to know. And then send it however they want it. When you send it to me, if you do your resume and you want me to look at it, send it to me as a Word document. Then if I see things that can be changed or I can enhance it, I can do that, okay? If you want to send it to me as a PDF and you want me to give you some suggestions, I can do that too. All right, sometimes it's easier. Maybe you get things in writing, but you don't really know the wording. I've done hundreds and hundreds. I can't even imagine how many resumes I've done over the years. But I can definitely help you with the wording. So I like to see a draft, and then we go from there. And I'll ask you lots of questions, and just try and make sure it's perfect for the employer. Okay. Reference page. So your references should be on a separate sheet, and you're going to say, Jennifer Arazi, or references for Jennifer Arazi. Then I'm going to put, my reference is Carlotta Randolph. She's the executive director. She works at Delaware County Community College. Her address, phone number, and her email address. I know that seems like a lot of information, but if you do that for 3 to 5 people, 3 professional references, you'll have it done. So then you can just send that to employers as you're looking. All of these things I'm going to tell you, you're going to get the basics together. You're going to have it. You might tweak it a little bit when you send it out, but it's definitely going to be done. Okay, 3 to 5 references. The first 3, I say, should be professional references, and that can be, a teacher. It can be an employer. It can be a coworker. It can be someone at your church, someone at your, maybe that is a client. There are so many different ways to get references. I have students all the time that request a reference from me. Usually that is a character reference, because maybe I worked with them to help them find an internship or something like that. They turned in their papers to me and things like that, but I never directly supervised them, or I never taught them in class. So the best references are people that have supervised your work or know your work, whether it's school, an employer. If you have trouble coming up with a reference, let me know. I'll help you, okay? So you want to take, when you go on the interview, you want to take your reference sheet, and then you can give it to them at the interview. If they ask for it ahead of time, you can send it with your resume. You don't have to, but also if you want to, you can send it with your resume. If they ask for a reference, that's a person. If they ask for a letter of recommendation, that's obviously a letter. So, you wanna definitely distinguish between the two and send, what they're looking for. Okay? Any questions on references? All right, you guys are good. All right, cover letter. So, again, simple, 3 to 4 paragraphs. You want to find the person that you, are sending the resume to, and, make sure you have their name, title, and, email, or address. And then you want to write the 3 paragraphs, and they're gonna be written to the person that, is the HR director. If you don't have a specific person, then, you can put HR director, and then their address. Try to find out as much information as you can. First paragraph, why are you writing? What's the position? I'm writing to apply for the administrative assistant position at Delaware County Community College. I heard about the position from Nicole Azar, and I think I meet the requirements of the position. The first paragraph is really just arousing their interest. What are you applying for? And how did you hear about the position? Second paragraph, this is the most important part. Why are you qualified for the position? Describe exactly what your qualifications are, and how they meet what the employer is looking for. This can be you're qualified because you took courses, because you have experience, because you have transferable skills, but you want to keep mentioning exactly why you meet what they're looking for, because an employer is going to read that and say, all right, I see how they match. It's also an opportunity to kind of explain a little bit further why you are applying for the job. I gave this example yesterday. We have a part-time grant-funded position in our office. We have people that come into this position, maybe stay a year, leave, so we hire for this position a lot. And the last time we hired, the resume came in. She lived in Florida, her work experience was in Florida, so I was like, why would she want to work in this part-time position in Pennsylvania? Well, when I read her cover letter, she was moving back to Pennsylvania within months. She was looking for a part-time job, which this was a part-time job. She had the experience that we were looking for, and she also was in our salary range. So she really met everything, and I learned that from the cover letter, that she was going to be coming back here, and we ended up hiring her. So, it's always important to get as much information that's relevant into the cover letter. Last paragraph, you're going to ask for action, you're going to ask for an interview. I believe that I can make a positive contribution to your company and look forward to discussing it further. Please contact me, phone number and email address. And, some people might do the more bold and say, I will call you next week to set up a time to meet. If you send your resume and, you haven't heard from the employer, feel free in a couple weeks to give them a call. But your last paragraph is asking them to call you. All right. And if an employer asks you about salary requirement, you can include that as well in the cover letter. We talked a little bit yesterday about salary requirement. So when you're looking for a position, you want to do a little bit of research on what the entry level, mid-level, higher level salary is. So, and then when you're writing your cover letter, maybe they ask you for your salary requirement, then you can include that. And the way that you include it is by giving a range. So maybe you're $13 to $15 an hour, maybe you're $30,000 to $35,000 a year. But you can include that in your cover letter. That's the best place. If they don't ask you for a salary, you don't need to include it. And I will tell you, when working with a lot of employers, they want to hire you. usually the hiring manager is not the HR person, it's not their money, they wanna get you for the best, salary they can. So even if you say, 15 to 17, and don't assume that they're gonna give you the lower number. Also, when you get into the interview and you start learning more about the job, you might be like, all right, they said this was $12 an hour, but now I get in here and it's crazy what you have to do for $12 an hour. And then you can negotiate. If you're offered the job, then you can start negotiating the salary. But don't be afraid to, you know what, I really need a job and I could work for whatever amount. Let me get my foot in the door, let me get some experience, and then there's always room for growth. Okay? The job you get doesn't have to be your last job. It's more likely now that people move from job to job every so many years. I'm not saying every year, but to explore different options. Maybe you can get a promotion by going to another company. Maybe there's room for growth. So taking a job doesn't mean that's your last job. Okay? Does that make sense? Any questions on the cover letter?
Can I see the first page of it?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Did you have a question? Sorry, I can't hear
I needed to see the first part of it. Where
First
you
part of the
put
cover
your,
letter or the first
cover
part of
letter.
this?
The cover letter?
She's requesting to see the first page of the
Oh,
cover
okay.
letter.
Of the cover letter, or just
Of the cover letter, yes.
Not that, the second one.
Go one
this
more
one or
day.
this?
22, yeah, 22. Yeah.
This one?
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. And did you have some questions on that?
No, I just wanted to get an image of it.
And I can send you, we have resume booklets. I'd be fine with sending this to you. Our PowerPoint's a little outdated. We have a new one, but I actually like this one better because it's to the point. Just tells you exactly what you need. Our other one's at Prezi and it's a little fancier. But I'd be happy to send you a resume booklet if you want. When a student contacts me, I usually just send them one sample, maybe something that's close to what they're looking for so they can see their skills and how they put them in. So if anyone wants to, send their resume to me but doesn't know how to get started, I can definitely help you with that. The biggest thing is getting your profile, experience, and education on the resume, and then we can tweak it from there. And you want to make sure you're creating a resume that shows the employer that you're looking for their job and then why you're qualified. So making it very specific is important. What other questions? Well, let me tell you real quick about the online job board. So we have an online job board, and it's handshake. Some of you may be familiar with it.